The instigators have entered the room and we are going to have a blast. Today's very special guest is none other than a friend and a brother, Mr. Joe Hines, an educated man, a brilliant man, a spiritually minded man, an all-around good man. But he and I together at the same time, well, just watch the show. Tbr Live, interesting conversation with interesting people. Let's do it. Our very special guest today is Mr. Joe Hines, a very good friend of mine, very educated brother. We're going to talk about life, career. We might stir up some trouble, and we've been threatening to tell some jokes for a long time. We might finally get that in. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. Honored to be asked to be here.
Thank you, man. So first question, who is Joe Hines?
Oh, man, I am, I don't know. It's not that complicated. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm your everyday average working dude. That's about it. I don't see nothing special about it. It's just, I'm not your average Joe, but,
yeah.
I just grind. I grind a little bit. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. So, so wherever you are in life right now, how did you get to where you are? And I asked that question because you seem to be a very thoughtful guy. You seem to take your time and do things with care and all of that. And for some people, I guess they just come out of the womb that way. For others, something has to happen to get them that way. So wherever you are in life, what's a couple things that kind of got you where you are right now?
I would probably have to say just experience, and it hasn't been like a trying life, like real difficult. It's not that story of all the odds were stacked against me and I had to. It's just that I put a lot on what I was brought up with, family, father, mother, that I had a sound foundation in that. And then with that, it's just that everything I experienced from that, I just kind of built on that foundation. When we talk about now is the present moment, is pretty much like every person goes through that 20s, 30s, 40s, trying to figure something out. Things ain't working, a little aggressive, a little angry, towards the world. It was the outward anger, not recognizing that it was, you might be part of the problem. Yeah. And, so I had to start working on some things, some mindset things and some things like that to get me where I am today. So, you met me along that process of pretty much the mindset changing type of deal. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where you kind of were interjected. Yeah. Where we met. So yeah.
Okay. All right. We done got all that out the way. I'm ready to put my foot on the gas. All right, here we go. So there's a lot of people speaking for Black men in this country, talking about things that happen, talking about how brothers are treated and all that. There's a lot of different movements based on what has happened to a lot of the brothers. So I like to just talk to the subject. I like to talk to a Black man about what's going on. So what are your thoughts about how the brothers are being treated right now?
So when you say right now, I'm on it. See, we really hadn't wrapped in a minute. So, I want to say that you're talking about the protest or the unrest or just the treatment of Black men in general. And that kind of goes into it. But it's nothing different than it has been. I mean, it's always been there. It's always been a conversation. It's always been an undercurrent of this society, and not just this society in the U.S., but the world culture. It's always been that known but unknown subject.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now, my feelings on it are, I've always loved where the energy is surrounding the issue. But like right now, it's like it always starts out strong, right? And you know, I really feel for the families of the victims, but it's always a new victim. Like every week is another victim. So George Floyd is gone, the movement is moving, but the movement has been hijacked by everything else other than what the initial issue was, right? So it's always going to be that next phase, and that's telling me that nothing is really going to be talked about. It's going to be talked at. You know, you're going to throw words at it. You're going to throw symbolism at it to pacify people. But like I started off with, it's always been there. It's always going to be there until it's a true awareness brought to the situation that, look, this is what it is. You know, I mean, like, we were brought here for a reason, and that doesn't just change overnight. As far, you know what I'm saying? So no matter what you do to pass a bill, to pass legislation or anything, it doesn't change overnight. So when you see that graph of, if you look anywhere on social media, of the timeline of slavery, then the timeline into Jim Crow and civil rights, and then the timeline after that, where we really initially only had a sense of freedom for what, 50 years?
Something like that,
Right?
No
I'm 51.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So, you know, and the context of that is my mother she'll be 87. So this year. So she knows what Jim Crow is. You know, she was brought up, you know, her family was sharecroppers. So she knows that, you know, you go to somebody else's land, you live in a house that's provided for you, you raise your crops on their land, and they may pay you a third, they may pay you a quarter, they may, but you will never get the full value of what you bought in, right? And, you know, to be able to cook in a kitchen, she could cook in the kitchen, but she couldn't be served at that same restaurant. She had to go to the back door of the kitchen and get her food and order it through a screen door. You know what I'm saying? So to go from that through the 60s and the civil rights and the Black Power movement, and then when they signed the bill saying you got the right to vote, you got the civil rights, basically overnight they flipped the switch on white folks. Right? So overnight with that pen, they said, hey, you got to let them use the bathroom with you. You got to let them drink from the same water fountain. You got to let them work with you. You got to let them go to school with you. You got to let them do everything that you've been trying to keep them from doing, right? So for the last 50 years, they've let us in, but that didn't change their mentality or their condition about us, right? So that's the undercurrent of it. So even though we got the police brutality and all that that keeps coming up, that's what this younger generation and us in general have to realize, is that for 50 years, you cut off what was really their whole legacy. And you expected them to change. You know what I'm saying? The change is not hard for us because we want it to be accepted. You know what I'm saying? So it's no real hard work for us to do to be accepted. Hard work comes from the person who has to accept you now. When they looked at you totally not even as being the same as them. And when I say the same as them, I mean like being human. Right? Now they got to look at you, and the whole time they've been like 400 years. You're not a person. You're not human. You know, they're doing everything to put you in the factor of evolution and monkeys and orangutans. But now it's like, now I got to sit here and work side by side with somebody who I thought was subhuman.
Right.
So you tell me, where's the advancement in that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it. I mean, ain't nothing gonna come to it unless, you know, we shouldn't have to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
But unless the other side is willing to truly be able to, and at this point, I'm not even looking for an apology. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just sit down and be accepting that, okay, this is what we did. You don't have to apologize for it. Just say, this is what we did, and this is what we're still doing. And you know, we need something different. You know what I'm saying? We can't keep operating in the same parameters to get something different.
Right.
We have to change everything totally. So that's where we're at.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm going to come back to that because I want to ask you a question about that later on. But first, I want to ask you this. Does the black man have an identity? And if so, what is it? I asked that question because I have seen a lot of people, a lot of different races, and even some other people only want the black man to be who he really is in terms of strong when he can be used as a weapon. So my question is, does the black man have an identity? And if he does, what is it?
We have several.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't know which one you want to pick, because that's the other hindrance that we have, is we have so many identities that we don't know who we are. So we're colored, we're Negroes, we're black, we're African American, we're Afro American, we're Cuban American, we're that, right? Mm-hmm. Then we're underprivileged, we're poverty stricken, we're criminals, we are the what do you call it, the super predators, we are you know, and now, you know, we're black and brown.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you have the black and brown community. So there's so many identifiers when it comes to us that I feel that's kind of why we find it difficult to navigate. Because we have certain organizations and cliques who say, oh, well, no, we're not black no more. That was a different time and era. We're African Americans. And then you have those like, no, man, I'm black. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for us, no, we don't have an identifier. And I think, and until we have an identifier, because you know, we have friends who talk about reparations, and they talk about you know, other things that the government should be willing to give our community. Right. And understand that every other culture has gotten some kind of reparation form of payment for their distress, right? But they only have one identifier. Right. You know what I'm saying? So if you're Jewish, you identified as Jewish. There's really no other slang that goes with that, right? Right. If you're an American Indian, that's what you're identified as. If you are Korean or Asian or whatever, you have a single identifier, and you're funneled into that, and that's what you're seen as. And like I said, what I called off when you asked that question, that's how we're seen everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So if you have that many identifiers, and are they gonna cut that many checks? You know what I'm saying? So are they gonna cut a check for the black man, or are they gonna cut a check for the African American? Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the application: white, black, Hispanic, other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we can check other all day, and we're still in there. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. Right? I mean, we don't have a true identity when it comes to ourselves and how we relate to one another in our community, and we don't have a true identity when it comes to how the outside cultures and even this government looks at us.
Yeah. So who's responsible for restoring whatever the true identity is? Whose job is that? Because we're looked at from the outside by a lot of different people. But whose responsibility on the inside to sort of turn that around?
And you just said it, on the inside. So it has to be an individual thing. So it has to start with you. So, you know, I always identified as being Black. That's pretty much my identifier. And for me, it is part of that Black power movement. It's, to me, that's a sense of true power. When you say Black man, you know what I'm saying? To me, when somebody says, hey, Black man, they recognize me as having a moral value, having principles, and that I'm not afraid to speak on what I feel and how I feel and say what needs to be said. Right? So that's how I see Black man. But you have others who are like, well, I feel the same way, but I prefer to be called an African American. Right? So, you know, it starts with you. It's going to have to start with each individual. And, you know, and if we're going to do the whole organization thing, whatever organization, and they're going to have to come together amongst themselves and say, hey, this is the identifier for everyone. You know what I'm saying? So your group can't say this, and then I'm sitting here saying this. Everybody has to come on their agreements and say, this is our identifier. You know what I'm saying? And when you out there hanging with your boys, you call whatever, but this is our identifier. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's turn the heat up a little bit. What you want to deal with first? Hate or spirituality? Which one you want? Hate or religion? Which one you want first?
Look, wherever. I'm here, man. Wherever you want to go.
Okay, so I already know the answer to some of this because we've discussed it, but they don't know. Okay, so so my first question is, you had mentioned reparations. So my question is, who needs to take their hand off the hate button first in order for us to progress? Because our situation doesn't get solved with dollars and cents. I'm okay with taking a few dollars from somebody. That doesn't bother me. But that really doesn't solve anything. So two men have their hand on the hate button, white guy and a Black guy. Who needs to take their hand off first in order for us to move?
You know, it might be a little biased when I say this, but Riley, I'm gonna have to say, see, I know you. I will have to say the white man, and the hate can go. The hate is so deep on both sides, though. Now,
no doubt.
But if we're talking about the initial hate, that's, I would say, is the primer for all of this, it would have to be the white man, because you know, as you hear now every day, it's systematic when we come to racism, right? And even though it's systematic, I think that, you know, when we're talking about systems and power, those can only be put in place and kept in place by those who have the power, right? So, you know, you have to have the influence, you have to have the money, and you have to have the position to keep a system in place, right?
No doubt.
So your everyday 9-to-5 middle class white person, they don't have that power. that's a personal choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, you know, that comes through conditioning and all this other stuff. But I would say that they will have to take the hand off that button. I mean, it's a lot that goes into it, though. I mean, but they will have to do that first, because it's not just a one-sided deal on how we got here and how things jumped off, because it's so many things and intricate actions that went into the whole process that, you know, there are blacks just as much at fault as whites when we talk about the you know, the start of this process, right? Yeah. But the continuation of it is, you know what I'm saying? That's where the hand hasn't come off. You know what I'm saying? It's like it never came off. It's like he leaned on it with his elbow and you know, he's forgotten that his elbow is still on his butt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I asked that question because there's a lot of talk about moving forward. There's a lot of talk about healing. There's a lot of talk about us just really getting better. And there's always a tree when you're dealing with a branch. And if you don't ever deal with the tree, nothing ever really, you know, nothing changes. We cut it all we want to, but they just keep growing back. And it just seems to keep getting worse. And so I always try to ask people, you know, if we legitimately hate one another, which I know that's a strong word, but that's true, given everything that goes on. My question is always, okay, well then who has to release that button first? Because if we really want to move forward, somebody's got to do it. Because people will take the money and will still hate your guts. People will pay you and they still don't like you. So you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really change anything. Okay, so let's shift gears to religion. So I like discussing this with you because
you're a troublemaker, man.
Well, my position is this. Most people that know me know I'm an ordained minister and all that stuff, and I love God and all that stuff. But I'm not so caught into that world that I can't have a conversation with a brother, especially a brother that I love. So I know the answer to this question. But what's your position on religion?
My position on religion. Religion is it's good. Religion is good for what it's used for. Okay. So and you already know me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I'm not knocking anybody's beliefs or how they connect with their God. Right. So I'll put it this way: if it works for you and you get the results that you need, then it's good. Okay. But you know, people need it. Everybody needs something that people can't give them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're always looking for something, and you know, we're looking for situations and people to kind of resolve that empty that space where we're trying to really find out something, and we can't get it from there. So that's kind of what religion is. It gives you that space it gives you something that, you know, people in situations can't give you. And like I said, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it works. You know what I'm saying? It works for people who make it work for them. You know, and that's all I'm gonna say on that right there. That's that. You know, it works for them. But it said that, right? You already know. It said that. I know. You know, I am. I'm not a practicing in any religion at this moment, but it's not like I haven't been there.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? And you know that. It's not like I haven't been there. It's not like I you know, shy away from that, but it's just that you study, you learn, you experience, and you should grow. And for some people, that growth takes them outside of that realm of organized religion. And it works for them. And like I said, organized religion works for some and it doesn't work for others. So, you know, like I said, I have no issues with religion. I have no issues with religion. I have issues with people who see nothing but their religion.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And their religion is the only religion. That's where you kind of lose me. You know, like, but other than that, I really don't have a problem with religion. Like, you know, believe what you believe, and if it works for you, let it work for you. And I hope you are prosperous and abundant and the happiest person on earth.
Okay, I got you. I gave you an alley-oop, you didn't take it. So mad. You did not take the shot.
Well, what are you looking for, Riley? Come on, come on, Riley.
It's cool. It's cool. Okay, so here's what we're dealing with right now. People are throwing out words like toxic masculinity. Brothers are obviously being turned into women. Most strong black men that we saw as fathers when we were younger are now being portrayed vastly different. Like Good Times. Father on Good Times. That's how we know him.
Right.
But there's a generation that only sees him as the guy who was married to a guy on a sitcom.
Right.
This is generations later, right? So if you had all of us in a room together, all the brothers, you had all of us, those who have been taught all of these different things, and you had the opportunity to teach all of us something, what would be the two things that you would say to all of us?
Wow, that there's nothing wrong with being a man.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with it. The fear comes from you know, I think it's a fear for black men to be men, to act like men. And you know, the fear is if you stand up, if you try to provide, if you try to protect, if you try to just do and be what all other men in all other cultures do naturally, you're met with an aggression that strikes fear in you because you've never been allowed to be that man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've never been allowed to be that. You've never been allowed to be who you are supposed to be. And that comes from, it's very interesting, from like a book I've been reading here, The Delectable Negro.
Okay.
And the book is basically about the consumption of the black man and the black woman.
Okay.
How we are just here to be consumed. it talks about the appetite of the white culture, or the you know, from the slave culture to the you know, the racial system, the white supremacy system is built on a culture of consumption. They consume our labor, they consume every aspect of our lives. And in that comes the feminization of the male, comes the, you know, being separate from your wife, from your spouse, and what she has to go through, and what your children. So it's, you know, you shouldn't, there should be no fear in you being a black man, period. You should not have to bow down to anybody at any time for any reason. There should be no compromise when it comes to you and how you direct yourself towards, especially towards a white person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
if you bow down to anybody, you can bow down to anybody. But if you bow down to that, you just compromise everything about you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So it's like, and when you come correct to them, it ain't, this is something my father told me. So you can speak and you can say whatever you want to say to anybody. He said, especially a white man. If it's factual, if it's in truth, it don't matter how aggressive you get, what words you use.
Yeah.
But if it's based on fact, right? And you can back up everything that's there, then nobody could ever mess with you. Ever. You can say whatever you want. Yeah, you may lose a job. Yeah, you may lose an opportunity.
Yeah.
But you don't lose your self-respect or your integrity. You know what I'm saying? You don't lose your morals. You don't lose your principles.
Yeah.
All that stays in check. And then the universe and everything else is going to pull everything back to you in another opportunity. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay, so we got about 5 minutes left. Let me ask you this last thing before I let you go. How probable is it that black folk will unify and turn all this stuff around? How probable is that? I'm not going to say possible, because of course it is. But how probable is it that we would actually do
it? I don't know. It's very probable.
Okay.
If, as I mentioned when we first started, you don't let everybody hijack what you're doing. You know, take a knee. And then it turns from, well, you're not taking a knee for, I'm taking a knee for police brutality. No, you're standing against the flag and what the nation is for and the war and the people who fought in the war.
Right.
Okay, we taking a stand because we saw a man get killed on video by a cop, right?
Yeah.
4 cops, right? That's what we're upset about.
Right.
We're upset because that's been continuing, and that's what we're upset about.
Yeah.
But that gets turned into women's right, and the gay and lesbians get a little bit of that, and you know, other political reasonings come into that, and then here 2 or 3 months later, it looks nothing like what it started out as. You know what I'm saying? You got the president sending troops in because they have these little zones where they're protesting.
Yeah.
But they're just protesting. Like, I mean, like, for me, it's like, why are you still there?
Right. Absolutely.
You know, so it's like you initially start something, but every time you start it, it gets hijacked by other movements. So by the time it's all said and done, it looks nothing like it was intended to look, and it has nothing to do with what was initially started.
Gotcha. I'm with you.
So yeah, it's probable that we can do something, but we need to stop letting it get hijacked.
I got you. Okay, so before we end, do you have anything that you want to promote? Anything, write a book or making some music or anything going on in that world? Are you about to do a speaking tour or something?
No, I'm not about to do a speaking tour, but I am about to, my wife and I, we're about to start my brand right here, Quantum Creators.
Okay.
And it's something that I've put off and put off and put off and put off. It's something like what you're doing with this interview and what you're doing with interviewing.
Okay.
Basically, it's mindset and just how we're all quantum beings. So quantum is, quantum mechanics, quantum physics. You're studying the smallest atoms and particles and how they react. Okay. And then the creator part is we are gods, we create. Okay. Right? And we're doing it from a quantum level. We're doing it from the subconscious. So it's mindset. It's, you think on a thing, you see a thing, you manifest that thing. Okay. We're quantum creators. We're all gods. Okay. We've had this conversation before, yes, I'm a God, you're a God. Yes, that's how we create. So that's what we got coming down the pipe. We're going to do, start interviews, and I'm probably going to hit you up on that. Love to. And it's going to be pretty much just, interviews with average people. Okay. So, you got people out here now, especially in this climate, the economy is changing. People got to kind of readjust how they make money and how they live. Yeah. So you can go and look up a book with Russell Simmons or whatever person has made his millions and lost millions and made millions again. Yeah. And that book would give you a generalization of how he did his business, right? Right. But I want to tap into the everyday person who's building his business, but is still having to work every day. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? So the one who has just worked 8 hours, when he comes home, he's on the laptop or he's making calls and he's working on his branding and that's the creator that I want to talk to right there. Okay. Who hadn't made it yet. He's in the process of making it. How he's manifesting that forward. Okay. All right, very good. Well, I look forward to all of that, man. Dude, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you very much for being on the show, man. I look forward to doing it again. Oh yeah, anytime. And the next time you hit me with the alley-oop, I will take it. And yes, sir. It's just been a minute. You know what I'm saying? So I got you. Yeah, I didn't want to just, go all in, but yeah. I understand. I totally understand. Well, all right, man. I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks again, brother. All right, brother. Peace. All right. Yes, sir.